For today's review, we are looking at the S.H.Figuarts Tanjiro Kamado from Demon Slayer. Now, before we look at the figure and the accessories that are included, let's take a quick look at the packaging. And as you can see, it is your regular SHF style packaging with the big plastic window that shows the figure and all the accessories that are included. You have this nice image of the figure in some sort of action pose as a side profile picture down here. You have his name in English, you have his name in Japanese, and you have all the other stuff as usual on the front of the box. And on the side of the box, you get another image of the figure, you get his name. On this side, you have another image of the figure with a different facial expression and his name. Bottom, same expression and all this information. And on top, his name in English. And on the back, you have more product shots of the figure in different poses. And yes, they did make his sister in S.H.Figuarts form. I haven't picked up this figure yet. Hopefully in the future I will, so I can complete the brother and the sister. As for the bottom down here, you have his different faceplates that they're showing, but this caution sticker is blocking it. So, yeah, sadly, I don't get to see that, but that's fine. You get to see it when we talk about the accessories. Okay, that is the box. Very nice box. Also very good for storing things back in if you don't want to lose your accessories. So, always nice. Let's talk about his faceplate options first. So, of course, I have this happy, cheerful one on the figure because I like this expression more. Pretty fun. And as for his default one that he came packaged with on the figure, it is this, what I would call, he's serious. So he's not angry, but he's just serious. Like he's getting ready for a fight. That's what this expression gives me. And then this one is what you call the teeth gritting, angry expression that we see a lot with shonen protagonists in a lot of IPs when they're in a fight and they're angry. So there's that. And you also get the yelling expression, angry, I don't know what to describe this, but another sort of expression you see with a lot of shonen protagonists when they're fighting their enemies. So, pretty cool. So you get 4 different faceplate options, which is always nice because having interchangeable faceplates makes it fun for photography. As for interchangeable hands, you get 2 pairs of these open hands, I guess. That's what I call these. You get 2 pairs of, oh, I dropped it. Well, you get 2 pairs of this hand. So I have one on the left right now, as you can see. This is for the right. So you get these. This is another open hand gesture. I don't know what to call this. So there's that. You also get 2 pairs of fist hands. Here we go. Pretty cool. And last but not least, you get 2 pairs of gripping hands so he can grip his sword. So you have one for the right and you also have one for the left. As for another accessory, which I already have on the figure because this is a kind of a hassle to put on, it's the sheath. So the sheath connects to this peg on the belt, and all you do is you just slowly apply it on. You just put it on. So do be careful because it can be fragile. It could snap if you're not careful with it. So do be aware of that. But it goes in nicely, and that's one accessory right there. And what is that for? Well, of course, it's for his sword. But his sword doesn't go in there. So instead, what you get are these 2 hilts of his sword without the blade. So you get the regular katana blade, and then you get this one right here, which is the fire breathing technique hilt. So you can use either one on that sheath area. So all you do is you just peg it into the little socket right there because they have like these little whatever you want to call this. So there's that. And of course, he also has his swords. So you get the regular katana blade, right? Pretty cool. You also get the fire breathing technique, which I almost knocked the figure. So there you go. Luckily, the figure did not fall. But there are details on this one compared to the other sword, so pretty cool. They did a good job there. And that is all the accessories. And for $35, if you want a good Tanjiro figure that is not, you know, the McFarlane ones, which I do have, by the way. Don't even ask. I have them. Okay. I would recommend this. Okay, don't waste your money on the McFarlane ones. I got the McFarlane ones a while back because that was before SHF even announced, you know, this line. So at the time, I don't think anyone knew that, you know, they got the license to make Demon Slayer figures. So yeah. Okay. Let's talk about not accessories. Let's talk about aesthetics. We already talked about accessories. Man, I am screwing up with my reviews lately. They're so scuffed. But hey, you know, I'm being myself, so I make mistakes. Aesthetic wise, this thing is called a Hiyori. I don't know how to pronounce it, but that's basically what he's wearing. They're not a kimono. It's another type of like clothing that they wear. So instead of cloth goods, they went with the whole plastic style, you know, overlay thing like this, which this is what they did with the Captain's Shuhakusho for the Bleach SHF line. Same thing. You have these compartment-based style sculpting, and these move because they are connected to a ball peg. So they move up and down so you can create like a motion. So they have articulation. And, you know, in most cases, I would have preferred cloth wired goods, right? But SHF is very random with cloth wired goods. Some figures will have it and some figures won't. I don't know why they couldn't have done it for this one or this line in general with what they're wearing. A good example is if you look at Power from the Chainsaw Man line, she doesn't have cloth wired goods, right, for her blue jacket thing. But then when they released Makima, her coat that she wears in the anime is made out of cloth for the figure instead of doing the same thing they did with Power. So it's really random when they choose to use cloth goods. And I don't know. It's strange to me because you would think that they would have used cloth for this, but they did not. However, because they didn't use cloth, they made up for it in terms of articulation. So this figure has some interesting articulation in some places that I don't think has ever been on a S.H.Figuarts, and I will talk about them when we talk about articulation, which is very soon. Because when it comes to aesthetics, you know, they did a really good job with the printing of the face. You know, his hairstyle is painted very nicely. It looks exactly like what it looks like in the anime. So, you know, outside of that, everything else is pretty much solid. I mean, this is literally like a one-to-one almost with what he looks like in the anime. So, there's really nothing else I can say about that. And down here, you got the straps here. I don't know what these are called, but yeah, those are done pretty good. And paint-wise, it's painted really nicely, of course. There's not a whole lot of paint QC problems that I'm noticing. I mean, it probably exists, but, you know, S.H.Figuarts tend to try to do their best when it comes to that whole quality control issue with paint. So, yeah. All right. So before we talk about articulation, I do want to show how you swap the faceplate because I do that all the time with some of the other reviews I've done for SHFs. And we're only going to do it with one of the faces this time. So I'm going to take this happy face off and I'm going to put this serious face on. And all you do is you just do that. And then you put the hairpiece back on and there you go. Now you got serious face. So that's how you swap the faces. As for the articulation on this figure, Let's start with the arms, because the arms are very interesting. So, because they did not use cloth, they updated this joint right here. So, on the S.H.F. Gato figure from JJK, let me remember correctly, he had similar arms like this, with the whole, like, the drapage of, like, the sleeve. And instead of, like, a joint like this, it was a ball peg, like a very small ball peg. And that was like the older style of how they sculpted the arms for, material like this, like clothes like this that they wear. But for this one, they made a new joint. And not only does this new joint bend, as you can see, there's rotation. It can rotate, which is really cool. So not only do you get rotation there, you also get rotation up here, and then you also get rotation up there with the arm. So it's really cool how the layers of the clothing have different movement. So you can move the arm and articulate it to make it match. So I really like that they incorporated a lot of like moving parts on this instead of keeping it very basic. And the arms up here can also be pulled out a little bit, which I don't know which figure started doing this sort of articulation for SHF, but it's not new. And for his arms, they can go out. They can lift up, of course. So there's that. His hands do swivel. And also in here, there's articulation with the arm underneath the sleeve. So this thing is just packed with articulation, which is so fun because you don't see a whole lot of like, would I call it innovation? Yeah, let's call it innovation because, some of the other S.H.Figuarts that I have, they don't have stuff like this. Okay, so this arm is really well sculpted with how it moves, and I like that. As for his head movement, it's really simple because the hairpiece gets in the way, so he can't really look up too much. He can look down. He can move his head like this. As you can see, this neck area right here also has a joint. So besides rotation up here with the head, you also get rotation with the neck joint down here. So double movement in the head area. As for his torso, upper torso, there is movement. So there's that. As for his bottom waist area, there's also movement as well. That's separate. And then up here, there is also movement down here underneath this piece, which looks like a belt. This is a belt, but like this whole thing is like a waist area to cover that joint. And there's rotation down there. So there is a lot of movement. And this piece right here kind of reminds me of what they do with the Naruto figures, where it's like I don't know if you call it like an overlay or something, but it's like another piece. So it's really cool. And it hides the joint. So there's that. As for his legs, can they spread out? Oh, yeah. They can spread out. You get some good articulation right there with the legs spreading out. As for kicking out, pretty freaking good. As for his die cuts, I think that's what these are called. They do move, so that's pretty cool. And his legs down here do bend, even though it's a single jointed, articulation. It bends pretty freaking good. And this is where we get to another articulation point right here, which you don't see on a lot of other figures. And I think this might be new. You see the leg down here? Right here? It bends. That is so cool. It's like it bends up here and it bends down here. That is the most coolest sort of movement right there. And for his feet down here, of course, you do get the swivels. And you do get movement, and you do get articulation. So the articulation portion of this figure is just phenomenal. Like, I love the way that this thing moves. And, of course, last but not least, we already talked about this, but, yeah, as you can see, these all move. So you also get movement there. And that is basically articulation for this figure. And it is really, really cool. So there is that. All right, let's put one of the swords on his hand and let's do some comparisons because this is the the next part right here. So, of course, when you put the sword on his hand, there you have the sword. And, yeah, you can get him into any sort of action poses with the hand gestures. You can have him gripping both if you want to. So that's an option. And, yeah, pretty simple. And I freaking love the way that this figure came out. I really love what they did with this one. I know the Figma one did use cloth goods for his Hiyori thing right here, but if I remember correctly, the Figma one was more expensive. And I know BuzzMod also made a figure for this main character as well. And BuzzMod also uses cloth, but they kind of do like a mixed combination. They use cloth and plastic, so similar to the Figma one. But if you're trying to look for one that's like budgeted, where it's not too expensive, because BuzzMod and Figma are more expensive than this version, I would recommend this one. Like, this is good enough for like $35 for SHF, and it's really freaking cool. So, and this is where we do some comparisons with the McFarlane ones, and I'll try to zoom in on them. So, now that this SHF version exists, there is no need to waste your money on the McFarlane versions, because the McFarlane ones are very simplistic and simple in their movement, and they don't really look entirely that good. I picked these up because at the time they were on sale, and for a budgeted anime figure, I thought to myself, these didn't look that bad compared to like their My Hero stuff, because the McFarlane My Hero figures don't look that great. If I had to compare the Demon Slayer ones to those, I think they did an okay job, like a decent job with the McFarlane ones, okay? But now that there is the S.H.Figuarts line right here, well, you might as well go for this one, right? Because this was $25. This is $35. So $10 more and you get a better looking Tanjiro that is more accurate to what he looks like in the anime, with the way that his face is sculpted. And yeah, the McFarlane one, like I said, it's okay, and this was good at the time for like a budgeted figure. But when this got announced, you don't need this one anymore. But I don't regret buying those. I mean, they're fun to have around, because I usually keep these in a box when I don't have them out. So if I really wanted to do photos, which I have done photos with the McFarlane one, I tend to use this one. So, but now that I have this one, I'm probably going to try to do more photos with that. Okay, there he is with Tanjiro. Here he is with Nezuko, and this is probably the wrong scale because she's a little bit shorter than him, but there is the McFarlane version. And I think the McFarlane version of Nezuko didn't come out that bad. I think it came out okay. But I definitely do want the Figuarts version now that I know that it's also out there and I can buy it. But that one's a little bit more expensive. That figure, I believe, retails for $75. So it is more pricier than, of course, the McFarlane version. And here is, of course, Zenitsu. So they have not announced an SHF version of this guy yet. I don't know when they will. They did, I believe, let me think about this. Okay, so far it's Tanjiro, and then it's Nezuko, and then after that it was Giyu. Giyu got announced, and I think Giyu is probably up for pre-order. I don't know if he is yet. I don't remember. And then recently they shown images of the SHF versions for Rengoku, and I believe his name was I can't pronounce his name correctly. It's Akaza or something. The demon guy that Rengoku fights in the movie. So those are the ones that are shown now. This guy has not gotten an SHF yet, and I hope he does. So hopefully he gets one. And of course, here is Inosuke. I don't have that new Inosuke, the unmasked version that they made, because the McFarlane Demon Slayer line is still going. There were some new reveals recently, and I think the one they made for Tengen doesn't look that bad, honestly. But if I had to wait longer, I would probably wait for the SHF version of Tengen for sure. So there you go with this guy. And recently I picked this up from Ross because I found this at Ross. I didn't even know these were showing up there. But I have a feeling SHF will not make this character into a figure because, or maybe they will, who knows. But here's Rui, the spider demon guy that he fights in Season 1. And I think this could work with the SHF version because I don't know if SHF will make this guy. I don't know if he's popular enough for a figure because SHF tends to focus on making the ones that stand out. So, you know, after GU, they literally jump straight to Rengoku and they jump straight to, you know, Akaza. There are a lot of other characters they can make, of course, and I hope they do. And there's no order with how SHF makes the figures in these lines. Like, there's no pattern. So, will this one get an SHF? I don't know. But if you want to put this with him in some sort of fight sequence or something, however you want to pose them, yeah, do know that he is appearing at Ross for, like, I think $5.99. So, actually, I have a box here. Yeah, $5.99. And he also comes with, like, a spider accessory. So, it's a good proxy for the time being until they make an official SHF one, which I don't know if they will. So, all right. With that said, I hope you enjoyed today's review of looking at this S.H.Figuarts version of Tanjiro. And this is a really fun figure, and I recommend this for people who want a good version of this character in figure form. And the SHF version is not too expensive compared to the Buzz mod and the Figma version. So, yeah. And now that you have options, I say get this one if you are trying to stay on a budget. Over this, of course. So, there you go. And with that said, if you found today's review informative, do give it a like. If you want to subscribe to the channel to see more action figure related content and whatever else I'm doing on the channel, do give the channel a subscribe. You don't have to. In the end of the day, I make these videos for fun. And with that said, take care and I will see you in the next video.